Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to another episode of Retro Flashback, showcasing gaming's roots for a new generation. So, I was looking around for something to play for this episode, and I came across this kind of unique thing. So, well, kind of unique. So, if you're into more modern titles, and in particularly indie titles, you have probably heard about Spelunky making the rounds the last little while. Originally came out on the Xbox 360, and it's also come out on PC, and it's coming pretty soon to the Vita, and I think the PS3 as well. And it is a brutally difficult torture platformer. Basically, it's a roguelike where when you die, you're dead for good. And it puts you through a really, really difficult gauntlet of levels in an attempt to get score and reach the end of the game. And I thought it would be interesting to take a look at the title that Spelunky draws a lot of its inspiration to. So, we are taking a look at Spelunker, which is a game developed for a number of different platforms in the 1980s, largely by one person and by the company that he co-owned, called MicroImageSoft. And I figured it would be neat to take a look at this and sort of see where, you know, current indie darling Spelunky is rooted. I've never really been into games like this that much. I respect them. I respect anyone who's good at them, but I find games that are purpose designed to be brutally difficult just not all that entertaining. And this game shares a lot of similarities with Spelunky, but it's also different in a lot of ways as well. The DNA is here, to be sure, but it's not necessarily the same thing. So, as you can see right there, it is extremely easy to die in this game. You hit one of the various different objects in a level and or fall even the slightest distance, and you're boned. And this is the sort of main purpose of this game is in Spelunky it's you versus the environment, as well as you versus a fairly wide array of different enemy types that will try to come after you, as well as as well as levels that will where, yeah, things like this will happen, where you've got to move really, really quick, or ghosts will come after you. And yeah, this is definitely where this game diverges from Spelunky in a couple of different ways, primarily being that there are not a lot of actual enemies in it. This game is mostly you versus the environment, for the most part. So it's a little bit different in that way, but as you can see from what I've been doing here, Spelunker is brutally difficult. It is definitely a roguelike and shares a lot of the characteristics of Spelunky, in that it will step on your throat and make you beg for mercy and say its name while it's doing it. So there we go. I think I called it Micrographics Soft or MicroImageSoft, didn't I? My apologies, it is Micrographic Image. And yes, Tim Martin is the sadistic genius behind this game. So, you saw two other interesting names there. You saw Broderbund and Irem. So, yeah, Broderbund, which was a company who was most famous probably for producing a number of different educational software titles, was the publisher of this. They did put out other sort of more traditional games as well. But they put out some interesting stuff, and it was mostly on home computers that they put stuff out, not so much on consoles, but this was one of their NES releases. And as I understand it, the reason Irem holds a copyright on this game is because Irem is actually responsible for the arcade versions of this game. There are actually two Spelunker games. There's Spelunker and Spelunker 2, weird long Japanese name that has the word no in it, I think, at one point. And Irem was responsible for those arcade editions. So I'm not 100% sure why they have their name on the NES version, because as best as I've been able to read, they didn't actually do the NES version. The original developers did it, but that's kind of weird. So, my god, I'm doing poorly here. So, you're seeing to the right... Okay, then. So you're seeing to the right there one of the few enemy types that there are in this game, which is the bat, which, well, basically takes a dump constantly. It's really ate some bad Mexican food, I guess. And it takes, it basically is constantly dropping guano on your head, and you have to try to avoid that. So that's the main thing. But principally what you're going after in this game is, is you're fighting the environment, the ghosts that appear, and you're also fighting, frankly, the base mechanics of the game. You know, the fact that you can't fall more than about a foot without apparently having all your internal organs explode or something, which is a little bit weird. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, like, as I've said before, I've always respected these kinds of games, but I don't find this kind of stuff particularly fun. And back in the day, I mean, I'm actually not sure what I'm doing here. This is how I'm kind of ignorant of this game. Okay, apparently using that gun that doesn't do anything actually can kill you if you do it too much. I guess that's fuel, or I don't know. So, yeah, I mean, obviously one of the principal differences that this game does share from the modern, or doesn't share, rather one of the principal differences between this game and the modern version of Spelunky is that Spelunky has procedurally generated levels. What do I mean by that? It means that, with the exception of always ensuring that certain conditions within the level are met, the levels are randomly created in Spelunky. So no two levels are the same. Every time you play, you are going through a different environment. So essentially, you've got to relearn it every time. This game, as you've been plainly seeing, does not do that. This game has static levels that are the same every time. So by playing this game a lot, you can get good at it, and by learning the levels. In Spelunky, the newer game, you have to get to learn the gameplay mechanics and design and use that to your advantage in order to properly deal with levels that are randomly generated. In this, you certainly do need to learn the mechanics as well, but you can essentially pattern memorize your way through the levels if you really want to. So basically, with a lot of repetition, you can get good at this game and manage to find your way through it. So that's kind of neat. I mean, this game, there is no doubt this game will challenge the heck out of you, and I certainly respect that this game what this game is attempting to do. It pulls no punches. It knows exactly what it is, what it wants to do, and it will challenge the heck out of you, and it will make you play it over and over and over again to get good at it, and it's pretty cool. And to be honest, sure, game publishers were a lot more risky, you know, took a lot more risks and stuff back in the 80s, but this was a pretty ballsy title to bring out even then, especially on home consoles like the NES. I mean, older console games are famous for being hard, but this is a whole other level of hard. You know, we're not talking DuckTales or Mega Man here. Like, this game is arbitrary and punishing and, frankly, more than a little unfair in some places. And like I said, that's not for me, but I respect the heck out of anyone who wants to make a game like that, and especially anyone who puts that out. And I think it's very cool that Broderbund, you know, this educational software company of all people, who, you know, are most famous for stuff like Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego and typing tutors, actually chose to put this out and put it out on the NES. Woo! I think that's very, very neat. So, and, you know, I thought this was really cool because you can certainly see the DNA and roots of the modern-day Spelunky in this game, and I think it's also very cool that this game could serve as inspiration for Derek Yu to make a title like that and make a good go of it. Spelunky, the modern Spelunky has done very well for him, actually, and I think that's really cool that we're seeing a bit of a resurgence in the what is known as the torture platform genre. So it's pretty cool. So yeah, if you want to try this out for yourself. It might be a little tricky to find. As far as I know, there's no real versions of this available on any download systems that I'm aware of. But this did come out on a number of different platforms, including the Commodore 64, the MSX, the Atari 400 and 800. But actually, you know what? I may be wrong. I think a version of this might be on the Wii Virtual Console. So I'll put a link or I'll mention it in the description below this video if that is the case, actually. But you might be able to get your hands on this. So yeah, I mean, the modern Spelunky does what this does, and you know, does it in a more modern way. So if you're looking for a game like this, this might be the best option. You know, the modern Spelunky might be a better option for you. But if you want to see where that's rooted, and definitely get, you know, the old school version of this that will certainly test your patience, then this could be cool. It's a very cool game, and that this was put together by one person back in this day is pretty cool. And hey, I just learned something. I learned how to kill the bat. And by kill, I mean just temporarily stop him. So, yeah, this is pretty cool, and it might be worth checking it out if you're into this stuff. So that is Spelunker, published by Broderbund Software and developed by Micrographic Image in 1985. We're taking a look at the Nintendo Entertainment System version. Well, it came out this version came out in '85. The original came out in '83, and it's been in a number of different places. So, but yeah, it's a neat historical piece, and I think it's pretty cool. But not for me. My name's been Parallax Abstraction. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.